do this. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Not Content Podcast. My name is Jerome Cuson, joined as always by my friend Brian. And here this month, we are going to be discussing Joe Dante. We are going a little bit out of order because Brian felt like we needed to match up Small Soldiers with a War Games match. So that is what we are going to be discussing here tonight. Please like and subscribe on YouTube. Click the bell icon for notifications. Liking and subscribing helps the algorithm. You can also help us by leaving a 4 or 5-star review if you are listening to us on the podcast version as well. It would be nice to get Netflix money like Bill Simmons and The Ringer are doing, Brian, but unfortunately, Netflix will not. Seriously, I want to know. I want to find the people that are watching podcasts. I just want to know these people, and I want to understand them.
Well, I guess Netflix has a whole team about that, and then they turn that data into some kind of other data that doesn't make any sense to you, but makes sense to them. Does it make sense?
And is this how we ended up with 5 seasons of Stranger Things instead of the anthology series it was meant to be?
Sure, why not? 5 seasons and a movie, maybe? We'll see.
I mean,
I know that's the joke from Community, but
there's always a number, man.
Hey, man, from what I heard, those screenings in the LA area for January 1st and December 31st for the finale.
I mean, they were sold out.
Yeah, here in the LA area, I looked before I got sick because, folks, I'm still kind of sick. So I was kind of in this period where on December 30th, I got really sick. I'm still in the recovery. It kind of feels like I'm still stuck in between 2025 and 2026, but I'm on the mend, folks. But yeah, I'm still behind. I still got to watch those 4 episodes. No
joke, everybody. If you've
not influenza A, apparently, around where I'm from, but who knows? I guess if you catch it within 3 days, you can get a shot. And of course, I didn't know anything about it. I just stayed home doing my thing, isolation. And of course, my coworker got it. She said she got a shot within a day, and now she's totally fine. So there you go. Get some health information out there, folks.
Go get your flu shots, everyone. That's the lesson. I mean, I certainly, because of what I do for a job, I definitely get my flu shots, and everybody do that too. Make sure you get that done. So we are going to discuss the 1992 War Games. Speaking of health, let's talk about a match where just about everybody bled. We are talking about the 1992 War Games. Thematically, we should have discussed the 1995 War Games, but it's an abomination. It's terrible. It's Hulk Hogan doing his version of War Games, and it's borderline self-parody. So we're going to talk about the good War Games. This being Sting's Squadron of Sting, Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, Dustin Rhodes, Barry Windham, and Nikita Koloff against the Dangerous Alliance of Rick Rude, Steve Austin, Larry Zbyszko, Arn Anderson, and Bobby Eaton, with Paul E. Dangerously and Medusa at ringside. Paul Heyman has been doing, or Paul E. Dangerously / Paul Heyman has been doing this for quite some time. What makes this War Games match so special? Because to me, like, look, the Horsemen ones are really, really good in their own right. And obviously you can see why they started the War Games, because you get the Horsemen in there and you beat their asses, and you take non-good workers like the Road Warriors, and you make them into super people because they come out of the corner doing double clotheslines, and they can punch and kick as much as they want and toss people into cages, and it's all good. What makes this War Games match so good?
To me, it's the timing, I think, because everyone has a sense of what to do when they're in. Like, the heels are supposed to get the advantage, and the baby faces are supposed to have this perennial hot tag, right? And I think that first 30 seconds in the 2-minute time period is the key moment for the babyface to just get all their crazy shit in and get the crowd going. And that's why, like, Ricky Steamboat's coming in doing DDTs on everybody right off the bat, and then Arn Anderson comes in, does a DDT, and the spine buster, he gets like his big stuff in, and JR's calling them like all the spots, and it's like, oh, they're launching the big guns right off the bat, folks. Like, they're not waiting, they're just like going in and like dropping spots. And then of course, with the timing of everything, they're not going to the traditional 45-minute mark of the War Games today. They're ending it like at a 20-minute mark, a 25-minute mark.
20 minutes. Like, once the match beyond starts, like, you can pretty much set your watch to the fact that it's going to go 5 to 10 minutes at most.
Right, and I think that's the key, because I think the real great part of the War Games is obviously the babyface coming in, hot tag gimmick, and I think that's what really works in all these War Games. But the fact that, like, all five got the big pot tag, or all four got the big hot tag, because Barry Windham and Steve Austin start the matchup. But they started it well because once Austin starts bleeding, that's when you know, like, oh, they're really going for it this time. Because some war games at this time, they're not going to bleed. I don't know how they got away with it. I don't know if Bill Watts talked to someone at the pay-per-view company saying we're going to bleed on
This
this
is
one.
This is Kip Allen Fry. He was in charge at the time. I think this may have been either maybe Watts had just started, but this is very much a Kip Allen Fry production.
Yeah, it's very interesting because there will be times where they say where they're not going to do blood, and then we have these War Games matches where they have blood, and then certain War Games matches where they don't do blood. So I keep wondering who's getting away with it. I feel like they probably just said if whoever wants to do it tonight's the night to do it. We're just gonna just take the bullet and whatever happens happens.
I
But I
mean,
think the reception was good.
everybody bleeds in this match. It is unfucking believable. I think Zabisco's like the only one that doesn't bleed.
But he's covered in a lot of sweat, that's for sure, by the end of it.
Yeah,
And grease. Like
great
everyone's covered in
story.
grease and sweat, too. That's crazy.
Yeah, I
But
mean, great
yeah.
story. Zabisco comes in the ring and the advantage doesn't change hands, even though the odds are once again uneven. A great foreshadowing for Zabisco messing things up at the end and basically causing his team to lose. And yeah, I mean, this to me is the best of the war games. I think in terms of the story being told, the execution, it doesn't get any better than this. I mean, I there's a lot of guys who I think go to WCW from WWF and are not as good. That is not true for Rick Rude. Rick Rude was so much better in WCW than WWF. Like he was much more of an ass kicker. Like he definitely kept a lot of the same vibes from the WWF, but there was not nearly as much comedy. It was much more like doing the things that he was doing in this match, and like you could just feel it. I mean, a lot more intensity, and his rivalry with Ricky Steamboat was excellent, as you could imagine. And yeah, I think that this is just a match that works. And again, you can take the guys who are like not good, Nikita Koloff, and like hide them. Like Nikita Koloff came in last. He did his two or three spots that he can do, and it's fine because you can just hide him in the corner because it's war games and you just need like three or four good workers who are going to bump around like crazy. I mean, the joke about Arn Anderson starting every single war games. He doesn't start this war games, which is fascinating, but like he's just somebody that can go in there and really get you off to a good start. And I feel the same way. Steve Austin does a great job in this match. A very very different Steve Austin than you probably are used to from the Attitude Era. This is pre knee surgeries. This is pre neck injuries. Like this is a very spry Steve Austin who is bumping around like a crazy person.
Yeah, and it was really interesting that at the beginning of the match, you see him try to do like him hanging off the top of the ceiling and like doing a drop kick, which like that's not his forte. So it was obviously something bad was going to happen, and it kind of led to him getting total like falling flat on his face. That was a great moment at the beginning of the match. I got to point out, I think this has one of the better entrances in terms of the team entrances for the War Games. Because I know nowadays they do these separate entrance bullshit, and I don't really like that. I like when the team comes out together. And I loved it when the Dangerous Alliance comes out one by one like an army in line. You know what I mean? Like in line. And it was just one by one. And then Sting Squadron come out and they're all just loose and they're all coming out together, not one at a time. So it was a very different vibe from both teams that you're getting. Like this serious vibe, this looser kind of vibe, right? And I love that dichotomy and it just looks great for an entrance, kind of like comparing the two teams. And then once they go to battle, it just kind of showed you that dichotomy of their personalities. And of course, the Nikita Koloff thing is interesting because I guess I didn't know this at the time when I watched the tape, but I guess on TV they were building him up like him apologizing to Sting and him wanting to like be a better like I guess father or something like that to his kids or something like that, which is a great story. I think that's a great idea for a redemption storyline. And then he was like reaching out to Sting and like let me be the fifth man on your team because if you were to like watch the TV up to this point, you would think it would be Ron Simmons in the spot, right? Because Ron Simmons was always in that spot with Barry and Dustin, and he still is occasionally. But he ended up getting like a singles match on that pay per view. But I could have easily seen him in that role, but they've got Nikita to come back, and they wanted to kind of fill that storyline in with Sting. Previously, the year before, when they were feuding, so the idea of Nikita Koloff pushing Sting out of the way and taking the bullet ties all the way back to Super Brawl when Sting pushed Luger out of the way and took the bullet from Nikita, and it was all tying it together. And I was like, man, as a kid, you don't really pick up on this. But as the older you get, it's like these little booking details. It's like you can tell like a guy like Tony Khan sees these kind of things and tries to work them in the same ways. So I thought it was a really good, nice detail. And of course, Nikita at the time was not going to last long. He's there from like May to October, and that's it. But like, he did what he could for what he can. And in this match is probably like his last great highlight. So that's a good thing. And man, this match is just so great and bloody, and I love the blue mat. So I'm not gonna like apologize for what WCW looks like at the time because I love the light blue mats or the light white mats with the bright blue color
I
ropes and
mean, there
stuff.
was a
So
lot of potential with this company, and then Bill Watts kind of squandered so much of it because, like, the Steiners left because of him, and it was just a lot of stupidity. They burned the New Japan relationship again.
the
I
off the
mean,
top rope rule for like the last 6 months of '92. Oh,
I
that
mean,
killed some of the matches.
really did. I have to say, like, to me, this is the definitive War Games in my mind because basically the Dangerous Alliance went bye bye after this, and Sting went into kind of his first feud with Vader. I mean, they basically feuded off and on for the rest of Vader's WCW career, and that's basically the next couple months they would be getting into that Sting with Cactus Jack and then Vader. So definitely a transitional point. I mean, this show it really has like three really outstanding matches. Like the Steiner brothers also have a really good tag match
I
on
mean,
the
they broke
show.
someone's nose on live pay per view, dude. I forget who it was, Fujinami's partner, but they broke his nose.
It's a nasty match.
Oh,
Um,
oh,
and Pillman and Zink also have a really good one as well. They're very
yeah, the last
underrated
great
brothers.
Z-Man moment match, probably moment,
Yeah, it's
but
really strange. Like another guy with just a really strange career.
and you would think after that match they would have pushed him, but I don't know. I guess they didn't
Bill
like his
Watts did not
contract,
like the light heavyweights, and as we
and,
mentioned,
and they didn't like his contract, so that doesn't add up too.
don't even get me started on that. I mean, yeah. So very unfortunate. We
Five
have a
stars,
champion.
5 stars, five
Yeah, I
stars.
mean this is a great match though. So let's talk about more war. Let's talk about Small Soldiers, a movie that I think hindsight being what it is probably came out maybe 10 years too soon. Like if this movie comes out in 2008, maybe even 2003. Like if we're talking about this movie around the time of the Iraq War, that version of it, like in 2003, I think we're talking about a much bigger movie because this movie did not do very well at the box office, and there's a lot of ideas, and I don't think this movie is totally successful. This is certainly not my favorite Joe Dante movie. I think there are some issues with it, but there's a lot of really good ideas, and this is a very logical counter. I don't want to say counter, but this is a very logical response to Toy Story.
That's for sure. Like you can tell that's the influence because they kind of they don't like repeat some of the scenes from Toy Story, but they echo some of those scenes from Toy Story, if that makes sense. And of course, they're echoing Gremlins. They just call it right off the bat with Gizmo. Like there's no shame in it. Um, but they're open to it. They're like, yeah, this is kind of like Gremlins, but with toys. But we'll just call we'll say the password's Gizmo and kind of give an eye wink to the audience. And it was kind of fine. I didn't realize it at the time. Like when I watched this as a kid, I didn't even know like this was the guy that made Gremlins. To me, I just was like, oh, the Dollar Theater has Small Soldiers. You want to go, Brian? I was like, okay. And I ended up seeing this like later. This came out July 10th, 1998. And of course, the timing around this is like Goldberg winning the title and all that kind of thing going on in Austin and Undertaker having their saga on Raw. But around this time, I just didn't know the connection, and I just went in. I guess I saw it in September because it was the Dollar Theater, and I just enjoyed it. So I kind of missed the beginning, but I did enjoy like the experience as a whole. I only missed like the first 5 minutes, but from my perspective as a kid, this was a fun ride. And every time I saw Phil Hartman as a kid, like I was like, oh, it's that guy from SNL, or like that's Bill Clinton or whatever. Of course, not even knowing that, of course, he died like that year. This was his
Just
last
an
film.
awful tragedy. I mean,
I
it
know.
happened
If
again.
you, I don't want to go into details because I've read some horrific details of the night of the murder, but it's horrific, folks. Just go look it up. Um, Just,
Don't.
Well, I mean, if
No,
you really want an honest, because I mean, people are going to want to know. And Phil Hartman's that name that's always been around, that's been passed around, like this guy that's been,
I
oh,
mean
what could
he's
have been,
one of the
right?
best, and
Yeah. I mean, he's one of the greatest. I don't know if he's one of the greatest character actors of all time, but I
he's
mean, it feels
definitely one
like
of the
he
best
was.
SNL cast members of all time. I feel like I could say that pretty
We could,
confidently.
oh yeah, we could totally say that. But I mean, this guy can come in and be anybody's asshole dad, neighbor dad, right? That antagonizing neighbor
I
dad or
mean, if
something
you
like
watch the
that.
movie, go watch the movie Jingle All the Way, which is a bad movie, but he is easily the best part of it. Like
Right. And
it's
he's trying to be,
nailed
he's
it.
almost the best part in this, I would say, but he's kind of close to that, but he's almost like, almost that same annoying neighbor. And I couldn't help but think, like, this dude would have been so good in a 5 season arc of Breaking Bad or Better Call Saul. You know what I mean? He's got that, like, comedic, dark personality type
Yeah, I could
that
definitely see him in
fits
a comedic
Gilligan.
drama
Yeah.
at around this time. I mean, he's definitely somebody. I don't know that he could have played the Walter White role, but he's certainly, if you give him this type of role, I think he would have excelled at it because I think he was just that talented. Do we want to talk about somebody who is not nearly as talented?
The kid, what's his name? Um,
Gregory Smith,
Gregory
poor
Smith.
Gregory Smith. He is just
Listen,
not. He's not good. He's
he's
not good
not
at all.
good. Look, to me, I wasn't like drawn to him as a kid. I was more drawn to Kirsten Dunst, to be honest. Obviously, as a kid,
I mean, and not
but
just because she's a pretty lady, but because
she
she's
actually is the better actress
much
too.
more
Like she's
talented.
carrying the movie. Like I feel like she carries the more of the, the action than he does because like his scenes are kind of like talking to the doll, and it gets kind of boring sometimes because the doll, like Franklin Gella's, like got that low monotone. So you know what I mean.
You
And
know
then when
what's
Kirsten
amazing
Dunst comes in,
about
it's like she
the amazing
spices
thing
it up.
about Kirsten Dunst to me is, and I can't help but think about this because of the Stranger Things. Like she literally has been a great performer at every stage of her life. Like she's incredible in Interview with a Vampire. She's really good in Jumanji. She's really good in this. And you're talking about her like transitioning from being a child actor into being an adult actor. And here, she's kind of straddling that line between teenager and adult. And I mean, she's really excellent in this. And then, a couple of years later, she's in Spider Man, and she's still really good in every movie that she is in as an adult. And it feels like she doesn't really get the credit that she deserves, but I have a hard time thinking about a movie that she's bad in.
Yeah, me neither. And that's like a general, like even critics wise, like movies that stick out that like scream like, oh, that's a awful Kirsten Dunst performance. Like it doesn't really come up. You know what I mean? Like she's really
No, I mean
consistent in what she picks and what she
I think
does.
she's the best part of this movie, and I think that like I said, I'm very mixed on this movie. There are parts of this that I think are really good. I really like Joe Dante's sense of what he's going for. Like he's trying to go for this idea of the all powerful corporation, which again is a concept that is sadly aged really, really well. But he's also like trying to make comments about the military industrial complex and like the connection between that and toys, and like he's clearly going for something and he's not altogether successful. But for a movie like this could easily just be like Gremlins, but with toys. And there are definitely times when it does feel like that, and you can just tell like there are those similarities. But I mean, I think this movie is quite good, and at times, in terms of showing a small town and making it feel real, it's just not all the ideas pay off.
Yeah, and I like some of the like twists and turns it takes. Like the first half is your basic like, oh, like the creatures are coming alive and my parents don't listen to me trope and they're not gonna believe me and blah blah blah, and like that's typical, right? But once like everyone gets in on the know by like the last 40 minutes, I feel like that's where the movie really takes off and has fun. Like that whole battle sequence of the last 40 minutes between the two houses, I thought was so creatively well done. Knowing that like, okay, you have a limited location on this like backlot set with these two random houses, but because the toys are so small, it makes the perspective what they're doing like, okay, what they're doing has to seem bigger for their perspective. So like we're gonna shoot like tennis balls at the humans, but we're gonna shoot them on fire, right? And then it's gonna come from the toys' perspective. So when you see it, it's like, what the hell is this big thing that they got? And it's really small when you pull out wide. And of course, it's just the tennis ball machine. So I like those little like details and the way it like seems bigger, but only because they're riding the toy, like the toys are riding it. It's the Toy Story effect. But like the fact that we're seeing like these toys attack humans just adds to it to me. So I really like that a lot. And of course, Tommy Lee Jones is totally like monotone in this, which he's supposed to. I mean, he's supposed to sound like a toy and not like even
Right.
alive. He's just repeating and repeating.
I so can I just tell you that his energy matches Krusty the Clown. Do you remember the Simpsons episode where Krusty the Clown comes in, does a voiceover really quick, reads like three lines, leaves, and then the sound engineer is like, "Well, we're ready for you, Krusty. You know what scene I'm talking about."
Yeah, I was also thinking of the Krusty doll and the way that the Krusty doll has its voice box and it's like
The
half-assed.
that is Tommy Lee Jones energy in this movie, and
Is it appropriate? I guess. I mean, he took a paycheck. Frank
let me
Langella
tell
is like
you,
taking a
I
paycheck.
I want to know. I think Frank Langella is a little better. I think he's at least trying. I don't know that he's any better, but he's clearly trying.
Yeah, I'd say about even. I think the Tommy Lee Jones stuff.
Kind of a bizarre casting choice. Like, why would you cast Frank Langella in this role? Like, I don't like.
They want that
I'm trying to
sympathetic
think.
voice, I guess, empathetic voice, and
And you
that's what
think of
they
Frank
thought of.
Langella when you think that?
I don't know. To me, it's a weird casting choice, but like that character of the Gorgonite, the lead Gorgonite toy, doesn't really do it for me compared to Chip Hazard. You know what I mean? Because I don't know. The way they design him is like they're hiding and stuff, and they don't really defend
I mean,
themselves.
the big issue with this movie is that the soldiers have a way cooler design, and just besides Tommy Lee Jones, the voiceovers are way better on the Army side than the Gorgonite side, and the Gorgonites are all voiced by the members of the Spinal Tap. I don't know if you realize that
I
in
know that,
advance.
and that's another weird connection that I unfortunately did not realize until the movie was on when I
It
watched it.
is
So
it is incredibly sad to think of that whole situation as well. Yeah, just a very depressing episode of the podcast.
but with a great match and a okay movie. So look, overall, I say this is a 7 out of 10 for me. I think what this was Stan Winston. And look, the
I mean,
toys
this is
made
an
look.
outstanding Stan Winston. I'll tell you what. I mean, the visuals in this movie are they hold up really, really well.
Yeah, like the only thing is maybe like CGI close-ups of the toys, but even then, like you're not going to get that kind of detail in Toy Story 1. Like Toy Story 2 and 3 is really when they start to get to like the grainial detail of the toys. But even then, it still looks good, even in wide shots. Like they did the perspective things well. I like
It
that.
holds up really well.
Yeah, and the town, of course, probably it's the Universal backlot, I'm assuming, and based on the history, let's just assume it's the same town as the Burbs, right? Because we'll get to that as the main event coming up at the end of the month. But yeah, this is seems very Burbish in terms of the area where they're living in. But you never know. Maybe it's the Joe Dante universe because, of course, we have what's his name, both Robert Picardo and Dick Miller in this, of course, and we're going to be seeing a lot of them in the next couple weeks,
Dick Miller
considering
is
we're
a
going
great
backwards.
Dick Miller is a great that guy, and specifically a great Joe Dante now. That
And I don't know how he did it, but he looked the same from 1979 to 1999. And God
well,
bless the
Brian,
man.
it's like Arn Anderson when you perpetually look 45 years old. You still look 45 years old even when you're in your 60s.
Yep, and it plays off well, especially in this movie as well. So you're going to see a lot more Dick Miller and Robert Picardo. But Robert Picardo in this was interesting because it made it seem like he was like I guess he's like a genius, but they're hiding him inside like the military ship
Right.
department. Very weird, but like he knows like why would you put these in toys? Like that was the big question too. And of course, I don't know. Are you a fan of what's his name? Is the Vince McMahon? Um,
Dennis Leary, I think
Dennis
he's
Leary.
fine.
He's
He's
fine.
feels like he's done this version of that character in a bunch of movies, and it feels very 90s to have Dennis Leary, Jay Moore, and David Cross in these kinds of roles. I don't know why. Like I can't help but think about like what David Cross said about the Chipmunks moving and collecting a paycheck for that. It feels like he's kind of doing the same here, and good for him. I'm not judging him in any way, but I mean the Jay Moore David Cross relationship is just really weird. It feels very underbaked. It doesn't. It feels like it. It feels like we either needed more of them or we just needed like for that dynamic to not exist.
Well, I'm glad they came in the third act because it kind of made it full circle. If they didn't show up until the end, I would have been a little annoyed. But the fact they came in and helped the family adds a little to their arc, and it kind of makes sense since that Jay Moore character needed some kind of redemption for not knowing the consequences of putting smart chips in fucking toys, man. But here we are, and I guess they're gonna take those toys and send them off to some other country and probably take some president out and replace them or something, right?
Yeah, for sure. I think that. Yeah,
Wink,
this is
wink.
just. Yes. But yes, this. I mean, look, this is a movie that I'm very mixed on, but there's enough of it that works that I think this is well worth seeing again if you've not done so, or if you've not done so in a while.
For sure, and credit to the cameos from Sarah Michelle Gellar and who was it? Oh, Christina Ricci as the voices of the Barbies
So it's
or
really
whatever they
funny
were.
that I mean they're not Barbies, but they're basically Barbies, and then we get the big Barbie scene in the next Toy Story movie. So it's funny how that all works.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure they're watching each other's movies, Jerome, and taking each other's ideas. Even though what this was '98,
They're
so Toy Story was
they're
'99.
borrowing
The
ideas for
yeah, they're
sure.
borrowing ideas. Yeah,
And it's also funny that it's DreamWorks, and we know what DreamWorks would do just 3 years later with Shrek, and how that also
yes. Wow. So
went
this would
caused
so
tradition.
this would still be the era of the Chris Farley version of Shrek floating around, I guess. Because I don't know if you've
What a
heard those
tragedy.
tapes. Yeah, another tragedy. But those tapes are out there, folks. If you want to see or hear Chris Farley as the voice of Shrek, there's like rough
It's
stuff out there.
very very different.
Could have been a different good movie, but not the legendary movie I think we got. So it is what it is.
All right, so what are we doing next week? What Joe Dante uh, joint are
Well,
we
we'll go
talking?
back into 1987. I guess this will be the farthest we'll go back. Inner Space. It kind of makes sense for you, Jerome, because you just watched Dennis Quaid in Far From Heaven, and so now you're going to watch him go inside Martin Short. Martin Short is injected with mini Dennis Quaid in Inner Space. It's a weird movie. I started watching it on a streamer. I forgot like a couple years ago. I kind of fell asleep, but it's not because of the movie. It was really late. But then I realized maybe we should save this as like a review because this seems like a fun movie to kind of like. Have you watched this before?
I had not even heard of it until
Okay,
you.
so okay, I've heard of this before, and I was like, oh, it's one of those Joe Dante movies I've always wanted to watch. I just never had a chance to. So this could be a fun experience then, because this is like a known movie for its effects and the way that kind of Joe Dante does the whole internal body stuff. Like, what's that movie? Fantastic Voyage, maybe something like that,
Yeah,
where they go inside the body or whatever. Magic School Bus, essentially.
it is.
Uh,
It's going to be really interesting. Yeah, because like
yeah,
I
and
said,
then
I
Meg
haven't even
Ryan's in
seen
this, so they're gonna have a lot of interesting looks from the '80s of these actors. But of course, Martin Short right now is what he's on his road to another Golden Globe or something like that, possibly.
All right, yeah, that's all I got, man. That's all I got.
Yeah. All right. So Inner Space is next week, and we'll talk to you soon.
All right, yeah.